Y'all in the winning circle, shot some squares though. You in the killing fields, ignoring the scarecrows. Yeah, ho, I'm Benny Blanco in the last scene, making the power play high off for caffeine. This is a tag team, fantasy the bad dream. The male version of Kerry killing the class queen. Bati bloggers quit dodging my emails. Take that whack shit off, the real prevail.
Welcome to Free Lunch Podcast, home of the New South Movement and the New South Movement Network. This is your boy Tight, one half of the Free Lunch Podcast duo, BG. What's happening?
BG the 27 kid, Free Lunch Podcast. Let's do this again, man.
Let's do this again. Hey, BG.
I didn't move.
BG, we can't even bring our guests on properly without him interrupting the introduction and trying to bring him out the appropriate way, can we?
Not at all. It's hard. We knew it was gonna be hard from the start, and the people will understand once they hear him talk, once they feel that energy, they'll understand that getting him to be still and be quiet in his intro is a hard task.
It is. And BG, I hesitate now because I was listening to the Retroscope podcast the other day. Yeah. Two takeaways from that. Number one, the music intro, man, that thing was on fire.
Yeah, Shy Peacock. That's all her doing right there.
Shout out to the down.
The show.
Oh, definitely. Shout out to the down south. And it's funny because I guess it's on a show that's kind of has a similar title. That he'll probably talk about more when we bring him on. But that's just that whole down south theme that you had going on. And the second thing I kind of hesitate from that show, I almost wanted to call our guest today the young Ray Lewis, but I don't know after that show topic that you guys talked about on Retroscope.
It's funny that you say that because, you know, he come to mind as well. When I think about this, our guest today and Ray Lewis, there are a lot of similarities, but I would just say that the similarities are in that passion and in the inspiration and the way that they deliver a message. It really gets you amped up, dog. It's like your old teammates from the days on the gridiron, like getting you ready to go out there and knock some heads. So I would just say that the comparison should stop right there.
Because, well, you know, definitely it could stop right there, and he'll tell you better than I can that Ray Lewis actually is, I believe, one of his inspirations when it comes to motivational speaking. And I got that from watching one of his interviews one of his speeches that he has on YouTube. I was going to ask you a quick question before we even introduced him. Oh yeah. But quick question: Did somebody die today? Did Kobe die today? Is he in prison? What going on?
Man, now you already know. We've been doing this for about 2 months now. This is the end of the Kobe farewell tour. Kobe Bryant playing his last game today.
In the words of one of the fans that go watch the Little League football game, whenever his son would break through the line, and he would bust an 80-yard run, you know what he'd say?
What do you say?
Bye.
I take it you're not a Kobe fan.
Yeah, I am, but I mean, good Lord.
Man, this is a sad moment for the league, man. Kobe contributed a lot to the game of basketball. So
man, bye.
Okay.
So anyway, enough of that, man. Let's probably introduce our guest, BG. Friendship is essential to the soul. For sure. I definitely think he can speak to that. And it's interesting because, as you introduced this guy, it was a time period in which we all, were at a particular pace during a particular time and really just, did some havoc on the yard, for lack of better words. So, give this guy the proper introduction because I know he's sitting on the other side of that, computer just itching to say something.
He ready to buzz. And it's funny that you say that because, you know, when we go through life, you meet people along the way, and some of those people, you create a certain type of bond that you're able to stick with that person and follow them through their own individual journey. And our guest today is one of those type of people. He's a year 2000 graduate from Shaw High School in Columbus, Georgia. Earned his bachelor's degree in marketing from the Auburn University in 2004. And in 2012, he earned his master's in business administration from the University of Phoenix. To break it a little bit personal, like you were kind of alluding to in the opening, this is our chapter brother, Sigma Delta chapter of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. Spring 2002, 6 strikes of thunder and lightning. He was the ace on that line. And, you know, if you go back to that time, man, with this guy here, you can see the leadership. You could see the enthusiasm. You can see all of those things that we hold dear in our organization and in our brotherhood. But to see it go from that, because you never know what those years after college are going to bring. And you know, in these years, in the last probably say 2 or 3 years, I've seen him grow to a whole nother level on social media, on Facebook. I think it started with him doing a sports talk show. It was a college football television show, Football Nightly down south. And then it went from that to him doing these weekly videos, motivational videos. And I'm like, well, damn, I knew it was good, but I didn't know it was going to be to this level. So we've seen him just kind of break on the scene, and we got him here today to kind of give the people a little taste of what it is that he does. He's going to tell his story, and I'm going to quit talking. So without further ado, I want to introduce to the Free Lunch Podcast family, my brother, tight brother, Jonathan B.A.M. Rivers. B.A.M., what's happening?
Man, what's good? That was the hardest about 7-8 minutes of my life right there not to talk.
I know
man.
you could. I know, man. I had to cut it short for you. I couldn't make you wait no longer. How you feel, brother?
I'm blessed, man. I'm truly blessed and happy to be with you two guys, man. My pro fights again. I just appreciate you and Jeremy reaching out to me, man. And I am just living my goals, man, and really just doing what God has purposed me to do. So I'm literally on fire right now. Like I can't stop. You know, the time of my life is now, and I'm just ready to hit it.
No doubt. You had a big week, I believe. Looked like I saw some pictures that you were able to go back to your alma mater and speak to the students there.
Yeah, man. You know, like you said, I graduated from Shaw in 2000, and a couple of weeks ago, I actually was the keynote speaker at the Shaw Wrestling Banquet. And one of our frat brothers, Chris Huffman, from down here in Columbus, is the head coach. And after I spoke at the banquet, he hit me up a couple of days later and said, "Dog, I've got an opportunity for you to speak to the entire school because, you know, there's been a lot of violence going down here in Columbus, Georgia. Specifically, Shaw has been dealing with a lot of that as a school, and they had this Raider awareness rally for violence, and it was headed and sponsored by Chick-fil-A, and it was just an opportunity to address, you know, over 1,000 students, the teachers, the parents, just everybody affiliated with Shaw High School, man, and it was a really powerful, really impactful type situation, and it wasn't only a blessing, hopefully, to the kids, but it was a blessing to me. I mean, just to be able to talk to some of those young men and women after the event, to have them come up, man, get some T-shirts, really have quality conversations with people. It was a great idea, man, and I love what they're doing. I love that they're trying to give back and pour in to the lives of these kids, man, because it's not just about school. Like, these are young men and women with lives. You know, these are young men and women that have issues. You know, these are young men and women that have feelings, and we have to dig into those feelings and see where they're coming from, man, and just really try to bond with them on a personal level, just to make sure that they understand that we're there for them, regardless of where they're from or not. We just got to lend our ear to them, man, let them know that we're here.
It's been a journey for you. It's been an evolution. How did you get to this point? How did you get to the point to where you are now able to be a vessel, be a tool, and motivate young people?
You know, it's funny that you asked me that. It's I kind of think about the story of Jonah in Scripture, where he's running for what God has called him to do, and he ends up in the belly of the big fish, man, and he spit out where he's supposed to be in life. And you know, I think about it, and I told myself I knew that I was purposed to do something great in life. Just always thought it had something to do with sports. Then as I got older, man, I just continued to deal with trials and tribulations, and continued to come into circumstances to where people were just around and people would ask for my advice, and there was never a time that came by that I just wasn't an encourager. I remember taking a gift assessment test in my church, and the 3 gifts that I was blessed with, man, was they were leadership, exhortation, and giving. And I always remember those gifts because I always equated to having one leg up on the enemy, like LEG, leadership, exhortation, and giving. And I just was sitting down one day on the couch, and man, I had tried to sell Aflac insurance. I had tried to sell these fresh air machines. I tried this cash money scheme where I was just trying to provide for my wife and my kids. And I said, man, this isn't working. And I was just sitting down on the couch one day, and I looked at my wife. I said, baby, I'm gonna be a motivational speaker. Then as soon as I said that, I got up, went outside, sat on my wicker chair on my front porch, and just recorded myself on why. Like, why do I want to speak? What do I have to speak about? What am I passionate about? Like, what is my purpose of speaking to people? And then from there, like, I promise you, everything started opening up. I started attending these free seminars online, started understanding how to get my website built, started understanding how to reach out and connect with people that were providing me with opportunities to speak. And that's really where it came from, man, because, you know, the greatest thing about it is I'm not just sharing a message, I'm sharing my story. Like, you know, just growing up, raised by a single mother, you know, my father having 5 children by 5 different women, not having any type of relationship with him, growing up just in a life of insecurity, you know, being abused sexually as a child. So a lot of things have really come to this point in my life where it's come to a head. And I've really realized that instead of looking at myself as a victim, you know, like, why did I have to go through these things? Or, you know, God, why me? I've started asking myself, you know, why not me? You know, I've been given these gifts, and I look at those circumstances as gifts. And I know a lot of people don't want to think about hard times and struggles in life as gifts, but your situations, all of them are beneficial. Whether they're favorable or unfavorable, they're all beneficial. So I just looked at those gifts and I said, why not me? Like, instead of being a victim, I'm going to be a victor. And if I'm going to be a victor, like, my problems can be a solution for somebody else. Like, if I respond in a way that's admirable, if I respond in a way that's of Christ, if I respond in a way that is positive, like, I just don't know the type of positive impact that I'm having on somebody else. And it's about service, you know, so that's really what it is, guys. BG, Jeremy, I just understand that this is a life of service, and my job is to serve people. And that's what I'm here to do. And I'm just doing it through speaking and encouraging.
And you talked about the journey to get to that point of realizing that with all of us, our lives are in the position and are here for us to serve others. So let's kind of go back to, I guess, those days growing up, though, because I'm sure that what you're seeing now wasn't as clear back then when you were just a little boy growing up in that single parent home. So were you the same motivational type of person then in elementary school, middle school that you are now? Or were you more of the stand back and observe kind of guy?
See, I've always been a guy that was energetic. You know, I don't necessarily know if it was motivational back then. Like, I wasn't walking around giving motivational talks to people, but I would always just encourage people. Like, I have the gift of encouragement. So even when I was younger, I would always tell somebody, hey, how you doing? You know, that was a good answer. You know, you're smart. You know, okay, you look nice today. I like those shoes. You know, that I like what you're coming with. I like the information that you're sharing with me. I would always say something in an uplifting manner. And, you know, my mother was that way. Like I said, man, she raised me on her own. I'm talking about Vietnam vet, retired school teacher, you know, retired probation officer, leasing manager. So, I mean, she was a Jackie of all trades, if I can say that. You know, she really did everything. But the one thing she did was always love me. And she always said that you don't need to let anybody create, you know, any obstacle that you can't overcome. Like, you're stronger than that. You're doing it. And she wouldn't just say it to me. It's what I would watch her do every day. I mean, regardless of what she had, she was at every football game, every baseball game, every track meet, every beta club competition, every honor society that I was inducted to, everything that I had on my plate, she was in the midst. And this is by herself. So I'm thinking to myself, man, I have no excuse regardless of what's going on. So I've always been an individual that was encouraging people. You know, I've always been viewed as a leader. But as I got older, I realized that at some point I was leading people into wrong things. You know, people were following me into things that I should not have been doing. You know, I was living life to the fullest in my mind through high school and then definitely at Auburn. You know, I felt like I was living the life. I was doing things up, and I had to realize that, man, this isn't it. But a lot of things had to happen. You know, I had to have my life put on the line. I almost, you know, I was riding with our Neo, Shy. You know, when we were coming back from Alabama one weekend, and, you know, I almost hit an 18-wheeler head on because I fell asleep at the road. You know, that same trip, got back to Auburn and ran into the back of a 4Runner because we hydroplaned. Hood of the car caught on fire, door barely opened. You know, the car was so bad, people were calling my phone thinking my life was gone. So those type of situations, and being in situations to where my character is questioned and just down in the dirt, very humbled by situations that I've been in life. God has used those situations to allow me to understand that it's not about me. You know, I have to encourage people. It's a mandate. It's not optional. So I just think really it feels so good to be stepping into my purpose and to be helping people. And the reason I know it's right is because I can't think of anything wrong with what I'm doing. Like everything is right. When I'm meeting with my production manager, when we're cutting videos, when we're setting events where people are calling, they're sending out testimonials to me on Facebook and they're calling me and telling me how much they appreciate the message. Like that is uplifting to me. And I think that's the biggest thing of thinking back to when I was young. I was always encouraged to encourage people. And I think now it's just at a different level. It's just continuing to fuel my fire from the inside out.
You mentioned something in your introduction, and you talked about being sexually abused. Can you share some of the stories of growing up as a young person that you experienced?
It's a lonely feeling, you know, because to be honest with you, there really felt like there was no resolution. You know, like I said, I didn't have a father, so didn't understand how to communicate that to somebody. Talk to my mom about it. She really didn't understand how to really communicate with me about that and really how to help me through that. So those are the type of things that you harbor as you get older. And like I said earlier, I was always asking myself the question, why me? Like, did I do something wrong, or was it something that I said, or, you know, why did this situation have to happen to me? And, you know, being so young and being so naive to a certain extent, you're thinking that you're the only person that this has happened to. Like, these are situations that I have to deal with. And you're like, man, I can't reach out to people. You know, I'm scared, I'm hurt. You know, you're just kind of disillusioned as a child, but as you get older and you start seeing the world for what it is, you know, the beauty in the world and the ugliness of the world at the same time. Like, you see the full complement of what this world is, and you have to understand that people go through so much in life. And I sit back now, and to be honest with you, I know some people may think I'm crazy, but I'm really thankful for those situations that I had to endure, as hard as they were. And look, I'm a 33-year-old man right now with a wife and 4 children. And I'm still telling you that I'm still moving forward in life, learning how to become more of a man, learning how to become a better father, a better husband every day, and still dealing with issues. And, you know, that's the great thing about life, is just like we're not in a life that's issue free. Like, we have to understand that life is not going to be problem free. Like, the Lord didn't promise us a problem free life. He just promised us a problem and a storm proof life. Like, the storms in your life will not overtake you if you keep your mind focused on the right things, like Christ. If you keep your mind focused on the right things, like his goodness and his mercy. And if you keep your mind focused on the right things, which are everybody else. And I think that's one thing that my entire journey has taught me and is continuing to teach me. The more I focus on other people, the more I love other people, the more I share my life and my gifts with other people, the less I think about myself. So the less I think about myself, and the more I share my story, the less power that has. Like, it's like I'm transferring power from myself into other people. So that's really the most exciting thing about it. So I went from a situation to where I was embarrassed, I was hurt, I was angry, I had all these different types of emotions, to now I'm excited about it. Now I've embraced it. Now I'm ready to share it, because I know there are so many more people. I mean, thousands of people who may have been where I've been and don't know how to handle it. And I'm there as a vessel, like you stated earlier, to help them get through that, not only mentally or physically, but spiritually and emotionally as well.
And that's something we talk about, that transfer power. Are there any other people that you can think back to that were an influence on, you know, your progress through your childhood and early adulthood?
It's funny because the first person I would say is my father. And I know a lot of people may say, well, he wasn't in your life. How is he a motivation? When I'm telling you, he was everything I never wanted to be. Like, he showed me what I did not want to be as a man. Like, he showed me the things that you should not do. And look, I have a great relationship with my father now. Now, it took 18 years, like from my inception and my birth to my 18th birthday, I wanted nothing to do with this man. I'm sitting here telling you the truth right now. I wanted nothing to do with him. But at some point, I had to make the decision to forgive him. I had to make the decision to say, listen, this situation is what it has been made for. And again, I started coming into that evolution of myself as a man and understanding that the situation happened. There's no reason for me to harbor feelings, because the situation will not change unless I help it change for the better. So now, you know, we have a real good relationship. I actually just talked to him a couple of days ago, and he left me a message, and I'll be calling him back. But for that reason, what I didn't want to be growing up, and you know, just my Uncle James, you know, my mother's brother, always there for me. You know, former police officer, former football player at Fort Valley State, really just helped keep my head on straight. And definitely all of my coaches that I had growing up, from baseball to Esther Hall and Coach Pearson to Charles Flowers, my high school coach, to David Atkins, Russell Scott. There have been a lot of influential men in my life that have shown me how to be an individual, to look at things at the macro level. You understand what I'm saying? Like, look at the big picture. Like, man, you've got a lot in you. They used to always tell me, to whom much is given, much is required. I remember one of my coaches, his name is Coach Pitts. He was an English teacher, my freshman English teacher, and our D-line coach. I mean, one of the meanest, one of the baddest coaches you'll ever see. And I'm talking about from a discipline standpoint, and it was great. I think one of the best compliments I've ever received came from him one day walking in class. I think I had just finished a game, man, where I had an interception, scored a 50, 60-yard rushing touchdown, recovered the fumble. I just did everything on the field. And I walked in his class where I was pulling A's. I graduated high school with a 3.8. I was in National Honor Society. I was in who's who for high school athletes and high school students, for scholars. And he told me, he's like, Mr. Rivers, you are really the quintessential Renaissance man. He was like, you're the epitome of a Renaissance man. And I said, wow. And I said, explain that to him. He said, well, you're just well-rounded. He said, you're good in school. You're a good guy. You got a good personality. You got a good head on your shoulders. You're good in sports. You're like, you just are the full package. And I'll always remember that, because I'm telling myself, like, he is instrumental in me becoming the full package. Like, all of the coaches and all of the men and some of the women as well that have mentored me, that have taught me, that have coached me, that have loved me, have made me the total package that I am continuing to become. So when I look at my wife and I look at my kids, that's all I see. I see the word Renaissance daily. I'm saying to myself, I have to pour in what was poured into me. I can't just close my cup when people have been pouring into me and not open it to other people. So I'm real big on that. I'm real big on you being a well-rounded individual. So I think those are some of the individuals that have really helped shape my mindset, shaped my actions, and shaped the way that I view life up to this point.
Bam. I mean, BG, there was like 4 things that I've written down that kind of I wanted to piggyback off of what Bam has been sharing with our audience. And I'm going to ask him these questions, but those 4 words I wrote down were forgiveness, self-worth, live your truth. Not 4 words, but 4 topics: live your truth, and football. And Bam, I pretty much have a question on all 4 of those topics. The first 2 questions I wanted to ask you is, you mentioned your father, you mentioned forgiveness. Is forgiveness something that's overrated? I hear a lot of people talking about forgiveness and how it releases the person that is doing the forgiving. But from your perspective, is forgiveness overrated? And then the second the second question is, can you also share with the audience the role that football played in your life in general?
Well, to answer your first question, forgiveness is not overrated. Forgiveness is something that is such a release mechanism. And what I mean by that is, and I'm talking about true forgiveness. Like, you can say you forgive somebody with your mouth, but if you don't forgive them with your heart, you're still going to harbor some feelings. And to this day, like I said, I've been able to forgive my father, but there are still things that I harbor that I still haven't been able to truly and 100% let go of or forgive on. And that's that constant battle that I was discussing earlier. But it's not overrated. I think that when you forgive somebody, it allows you the opportunity to reach out to them, and allows you the opportunity to understand that the chains can now be lifted. Because see, a lot of times we have this mindset that people place chains on us, when in actuality we place our chains on ourselves. Like, we're the individual that keeps us from being great. Like, we're the individual that stops us from stepping into the blessings that God has already blessed us with. Like, we've already been blessed with all spiritual blessings in heavenly places. But if we're not ready to receive that blessing because we're harboring guilt, or we're harboring anger towards another individual, we're harboring some type of, malicious feeling or malicious intent towards some other person, then that's going to be hard to receive, because our hearts are still hardened. Like, we have to soften our hearts. We have to be able to accept the situation in terms of what it was and what it's done to us, and then move forward from it as a stronger individual. So I definitely think forgiveness is needed. I don't think it's overrated. And second, to answer that question on the backside, man, football is, I have a picture of myself in my mom's house now when I was about 1 or 2 years old, holding the pigskin. Like, I was born for that. Like, football is just something that I truly believe that I have an innate skill to play. It was just something that I've always loved. I didn't play any organized football until I got to the 7th grade, and it was like child's play to me. Like just understanding schemes, like being physical. Like football to me is simply life with pads on. You know, you have to understand how to read defense. You have to understand how to study, and that's life. Like you have to understand how to do your research. You have to understand how to prepare yourself adequately for the situation in life or for the opponent on the football field. You talked about leadership earlier. Like being able to exhibit that leadership on the football field is so paramount, so instrumental to you being successful. Like you don't have to have any type of official title. I don't have to be a captain with the C on my chest. I don't have to be called starting linebacker, what have you. But my leadership is shown in my action. And I think that's what football has really given me. You know, also when it comes to the physical prowess, just being able to work out and stay in shape and things of that nature. And BG, I don't know if you remember this team, but this is something that was so profound. And it's not necessarily football related, but it's dealing with athletics. You know, we played intramural football together. You know what I mean? And we would run shop on.
Hey, hold on, before you get into that, cause you done referenced BG 2 times as though I'm not familiar with the field.
You might not have been there though.
Well, I just need to correct Bam right now because he done said 2 times as though BG is the only one I done played football since the age of 5, and I was all world, and he gonna sit up here.
Where you played it? Where you
left
started
tackle? Well, I started out little league running back, middle school running back and linebacker, high school left tackle. Started 3 years left tackle, blocked some of the greatest.
What stadium you started off at though?
What stadium?
Yeah, what stadium you first played in?
Sure, I played at Lad People's Stadium and Tramiel Park. So I didn't need to correct Bam because that was the second time that he was addressing. He was and BG.
What?
Last but not least, Bam. I don't think Bam knew about how much havoc I caused on that intramural field, Bam. BG. So just for a moment, we finna interrupt the Bam show to talk about how I was havoc on that intramural field because the fans need to know.
Hold your thought, Bam. Don't lose your thought. Yeah, Ty was a monster on the intramural flag football team. That was probably what 2002, 2003, something like that, maybe.
Yes.
Okay.
2001, 2002. So, Bam, I just need to correct you because for the second time you addressed BG as though he was the only student athlete on this interview, and enough is enough, Bam.
Thank you.
I understand. You're right.
Go ahead, Bam.
Go ahead, Bam. I just wanted to let the people know that I played football since the age of 5, Little League, Tramiel Park Jets, All-Star, middle school, middle linebacker, team captain is in the book. And then senior year, I started 3-year starter, blocked some of the best. I'm done.
That was so tight. Hey man, I'm proud of you too, brother.
Add his name, Bam.
Intramural field set records on the intramural field at Auburn. BG is here to testify. They couldn't stop me. Unstoppable. Okay. I'm sorry.
Okay, so
go ahead, Bam.
BG, like you know, and Jeremy, as you well know,
thank you.
playing intramural ball, man, was just a time of camaraderie. But I am gonna reference BG here only, Jeremy, because we had this conversation. You weren't there, brother, so don't get mad at me now.
Okay, go ahead.
I remember BG, and I don't know if you remember this team, but when I was gonna do this podcast with you guys tonight, I really wanted to make sure I came up with this because you talked about the relationships that are built over life. And when I crossed, man, into the folds of Omega, I just always remember you and I, we never had a conversation that was not life building for me. Like we never had a conversation to where I was not enriched more after we talked. I don't care what it was about. And I just remember this certain conversation. We were coming back, I think going into my junior year, maybe your senior year, what have you, because I know you're a little older than I am. And I had been in the gym hard that summer. Like I had been running BRD's Coliseum steps every day, been in the gym every day lifting, and I was at my physical apex. Like I was good then, and I was like, man, I'm feeling it. And I remember I told you one day, I was like, BG, man, this young lady walked up to me, gave me a hug, and she was like, damn, like you've been working out. She's like, I feel this. You like, that's nice. And I said, BG, dog, they love me when I've been working out. And you told me one thing. You said, Bam, you said, dog, they loved you before that. And the reason I just looked at you and I started laughing, And that goes back to what you talked about the influences in your life. And it goes back to even football. And Jeremy, it goes back to one of the 4 points you talked about, that self-worth. Like, for such a long time, the external factors in my life were the driving force of my life, and sometimes without me even knowing it. And I just knew that, hey, like, I'm a good guy. I like to help people. But there was that all, and I talked about that naive feeling that I was, and that naive person that I was, just continuing to say, hey, everybody's going to be nice to me because I'm nice to them, and that's just not life. And then because of that, I was blindsided by so much. But when you said that, it really made me realize that regardless of any external factors, regardless of anything that are going on extrinsically, you have to be internally strong. You have to be internally in tune with who you are, and you have to be internally comfortable with who you are, because a lot of times those people that are externally driven and externally motivated are internally fragile. And I felt like at that time I was one of those internally fragile people. Now, I've always been a confident individual, but let somebody say something less than flattering back in the day, it might put a little chink in my armor or so. So that, what you said there, simply said to me, you be who you are, people will love you for who you are. And that's what I want to share with people. Like, you know, I'm sharing my message of servant leadership and of living a purpose-driven life and of living your life without limits. But being comfortable with who you are, meaning loving yourself from the inside out, because anything you do, if you do it from the inside out, now you got that core. Now you got that very, very strong interior. You got that building block that's going to be hard to be shattered or broken down. Like, we talk about football all the time, offensive and defensive lines, man. If you want to win championships, you build up the middle, you build inside out. In baseball, man, if you have a good catcher, a good pitcher who can field his position, a good shortstop and second baseman and a center fielder, man, you in the middle, man. You're like in basketball, especially back in the day, if you got somebody that can control that paint down low in the middle, you're going to be something to be reckoned with. So the inside, like the middle, inside out, building your self-confidence inside out, not being driven and not being motivated by external factors is so, you know, imperative in your growth as an individual. Because if somebody were to take away those external factors, would you still be motivated? Like, would you still be driven? And that's the type of message that I want to really send to people. So, you know, and again, Jeremy, even all the way going back to the forgiveness question that you asked me, forgiveness starts on the inside. Like, if you can forgive yourself for things that you've done in life, for things that you've had to go through that may not have been your fault. But a lot of times we place guilt on ourselves because it's the easy thing to do. And sometimes we call it a coping mechanism, but in actuality, we're not coping at all, we're running. Like, we're sprinting away from our problem instead of hugging our problem, embracing our problem, and let our problem shape us. So those are the type of life lessons I've learned from football, from forgiveness. And I just wanted to bring that conversation up, BG, because I don't even know if I told you how much I appreciated it back in the day. But it's what, 13, 14 years later, and I'm still telling you about it. So it was very impactful, brother, and I really appreciate it.
And well, no problem, man. And I think that I do remember that, and that was just in passing. And really, it just came from, you know, of course, seeing you, you know, going through the process or whatnot, but then also just looking at the way that you responded to people and the way that people responded back. And a lot of that was because your spirit has always been in the right place. And so you always gave off that inviting energy. So I knew that who you were as a person would always supersede those external things. And I saw that. And so I just said that to you because, of course, I knew that, but I had also heard them, you know, a few ladies saying that anyway. So I'm like, you know, you good, man. I'm like, they was already on you. So it came from a very simple place, but I appreciate, you know, the fact that it had a lasting effect on you. So let me ask you this question, though. You said in the opening that it kind of came to one day when you were going through different ideas of how you would fulfill your purpose, and you came up with being a motivational speaker. When you start thinking about the economics, because you got a family, you know, you got kids and a wife, and the thing is how do you maintain your household? And for most of us, we're caught up in this grind of going to work every day to make those ends meet. So what was some of the hurdles that you had to work around as you were getting to being fully in your purpose?
Well, you know, it's funny, man, because you talk about the hurdles. Like, the hurdles were there to help me get into my purpose. And like I said, I felt like I was looking for my purpose. I don't know if you guys remember that movie, The Last Dragon, and where Bruce Leroy,
of course.
Yeah, no doubt. One of my favorite, man. His master sent him out and said, you need to find a master and he looked everywhere but inside. So it's kind of like I was looking everywhere but inside of me, and that's why it hit me one day. It's like, this is not what I'm going to do. This is who I am. Like, this is who I've been my whole life. Like, I've been an encourager. Like, now I'm educated. You understand? Like, now I'm experienced in life. Like, now I have testimonies to share with people. Like, I remember my production manager told me one time, he was like, man, you've always had the message. Now you just got the story to go with it. And I was like, bro, you on point. So the economics that you're speaking about, BG, it's funny because I was at the University of Phoenix as an enrollment representative, man, since 2009. And I got laid off in 2015 due to what they call corporate restructuring, which, you know, they just really wanted to centralize stuff, put it all online, yada, yada, yada. And I'm not exaggerating when I tell you this, bro. When I say that I literally, over the next 2 days, like 48 hours, put in over 25 job requests, 25 resumes, 25 cover letters with a master's degree, and I was 100%, got 25 no's, like 25 rejections. Like, we're going to find somebody that more closely fits or closely resembles our job description. Like, that was the theme I was getting.
Right.
And then I applied for more. Like, I remember going down to the Department of Labor and applying for unemployment because I had been unemployed for like 2 weeks. I had been working since I was 17. I didn't know what it was not to work. And now I got mouths to feed. I did not know what it was not to work. So I go down there and they looked at me like I was crazy because I guess there's this stigma of who goes down to unemployment. I'm thinking to myself, look, I am not ashamed of any situation I'm in. I got to grind through this situation. And 40 job applications later, guys, I'm not lying to you. When I say 40, I am not exaggerating. I still don't have a job. I have a bachelor's and a master's degree. People are still telling me that I'm not qualified for their positions. And I'm going to tell you the truth. Every time that I got a rejection, it encouraged me more because it continued to confirm and affirm in my eyes that I was not going to work for anybody else any longer. Now, I got on at Synovus down here, which is a bank, and I'm working in the retail lending center, help process real estate loans, you know, temporarily. And I'm doing that now, you know, as a temp. But my thing is there's so much flexibility. And the reason I know, again, this is my purpose, because my manager, you know, has me share my messages in meetings all the time. Like, she's, and I don't like necessarily calling people fans, but she's just a big supporter. You know, everything I do, I say, hey, I may need to leave to go do this event. Hey, go change the world through speaking. Go do what you do. You know, and it's that way because of when I stepped in the building, man, my production was high off the rip. Like, I came into the banking industry with no experience whatsoever. And that's another reason why I believe that God has placed me there, because you get to show your light and let your light shine. Like, people thought I had been in banking for about 4 or 5 years, had never done anything in banking. It was just my work ethic. But that's the message I was living before I even talked to people about being a motivational speaker. You understand what I'm saying? Like, that's the message they were seeing out of me before I even opened my mouth. So then when I opened my mouth, all it was doing was validating what I was living in their eyes. That's all I was doing. Like, not trying to be somebody I'm not trying to be overbearing, not trying to do anything but encourage people. So those hurdles are there. And like I said, I'm not doing it for the money, but the money is going to come in large amounts. I'm telling you guys this, like, I've been compensated for it already, and I'm continuing to grow. Like, I'm not doing it for the money. I'm doing it because I love talking. I'll talk in my sleep. And people are going to pay me because I feel like I'm really addressing a need. Like, it's easy to wake up in the morning to be negative. Like, it's easy to wake up in the morning and say, I can't. It's easy to wake up in the morning and see the world and your problems bigger than you are. But when you are trained to have a positive mindset, and I'm listening to guys like Napoleon Hill, like Les Brown, Eric Thomas, John Maxwell, Grant Baldwin. You know, I've done so much research and listened to so many people. It's just there's a need to be motivated. So in that, people will compensate you, because when you give people what they want, they're going to give you what you want. And this is an opportunity for me to change the world and provide for my family at the same time. And I'm going to lick it. Like, I'm not going to let it go by. I remember Eric Thomas always says, you got to take advantage of the opportunity of a lifetime in the lifetime of the opportunity. And this is my opportunity of a lifetime, and I'm squeezing every bit of and every ounce out of it. So economically, man, I got laid off, bro. Never missed a meal, never missed a bill payment, still in the house. My 4 kids have everything that they need and they want. My wife is still good, still sitting. And I'm going to tell you what it taught me, guys. it showed my wife and I how we can live financially at the bare minimum and still be good. So now our savings account has been booming now. I just read this book, The Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey. You know, The Success Principles by Jack Canfield. Like, I'm reading these books and now I'm putting these things into practice. And all that did was show us you don't need to make all that money to live. So when all that money starts coming back and starts flowing like it is, you're going to be even better because now you're wiser. Like, now you're smarter. And that just goes back to that circumstance of getting laid off and letting that teach me how to move forward. So economically, BG, man, everything is gravy. Like, we're still moving forward, but like, we were able to pay off like $8,000 or $9,000 in debt the last 2 months, man. Like, you don't understand that freedom in that situation. And now things are just trending in such an upward trajectory that I'm just excited. And it's because I'm allowing God to use me and I'm walking in my purpose. So I just want to tell anybody the external things, like I talked about the money, like the money will come if you love what you do. Like, stability will come if you love what you do, because if you love what you do, you'll give 110% every time you do it, regardless of who's around and regardless of what they're paying you. Because of that, people will see the worth in you and they will see that value in you and they will appraise you adequately, in my opinion.
You spoke about something that I wanted to touch on. You spoke about self-worth. And I believe I actually had an aha moment, a Kairos moment a few years ago when I kind of was able to personally define what I thought self-worth was. Not to give you my personal definition, but to summarize my personal thoughts on self-worth. It really just talks about an individual being able to recognize and realize how valuable they are in God's eyes because they're given an additional opportunity. You spoke about earlier the car crash, running into the back of someone and almost having a car crash, falling asleep. And then you also mentioned that in your motivational speech that you give to the young people, you talk about self-worth. You mentioned it earlier, looking on the inside out, etc. Can you talk about self-worth and also share with the audience what you are sharing with the young people as part of your motivational speaking?
You know, like scripture said that we are all members of one body. The head cannot operate without the leg, or the head can't operate without the arm. Like, you take my arm away, the rest of my body will suffer. So everybody has a purpose and everybody has a skill set. Everybody has a talent and everybody has a light that can shine. But we have to understand that just because our light doesn't look like somebody else's doesn't make it any less significant. Like, you are powerful. You are a message. You are an inspiration. Sometimes people are inspirations and don't even know it. They're just inspirations simply because of what they've come through in life. So we have to understand that inside of us lies greatness. And I know it may sound like a cliche. You know, if you say, well, hey, this motivational speaker says this, it kind of sounds like the other guy. People have their different quotes or what have you. But when I tell people that you can step into your greatness and step into your purpose, you just have to look within. You know, a quote that I have is that if you're not motivated within, if you're not driven within, you will continue to be without. And that's without anything. I mean, without, you say without what? Without whatever. Whatever it is that you're desiring, you will be without it if you're not internally in tune with who you are. So I think self-love, like self-worth, like understanding who you are is so paramount. See, this is intentional. We like to take things and categorize them as, okay, this is a skill set, this may not be a skill set. Man, positive speech is a skill set, man. Like, quality speech is a skill set. Listen, I have an 8-year-old, a 4-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 5-month-old. And my 5-month-old is not speaking verbal words yet, but he's loud as all outdoors, man. And the one thing I guarantee you guys, if I asked one of my children right now, and they're in bed so they can't do it, if I asked one of my children right now what they were destined for, each one of them would tell you greatness. And I know that without a shadow of a doubt because that is what I feed them every day. Like, I feed them their worth. I tell my baby girl, you are a beautiful black princess. I always ask her, who's my princess? She'll raise her hand and yell, me. Like, those are life-affirming words that I speak to my kids every day. I tell my 8-year-old, I say, you know you're great, right? Like, you know you're the man. I have them repeat it to me because they have to understand who they are inside. And see, things like that, you can be 8 years old and one day wake up 38 and not know your self-worth and not be motivated. And I've seen too many people take their lives, man. I've seen too many people just end their lives. I've seen so many people take the lives of others simply because they're not happy, simply because they don't feel love. Therein lies, gang affiliation. Therein lies situations to where people are joining all these different types of organizations that are about hurting people because they don't care about what they're doing. They only care that they're being loved by somebody. But when you love yourself first, you're able to really see and take the blinders off and understand what the world has to offer and what you have to offer the world. So, man, I really appreciate you, Jeremy, bringing that up because self-worth is so important. I think it's a daily struggle, man. It's a daily struggle between the flesh and the spirit to understand that you're fearfully and wonderfully made in the image of God. Like when we accept that, there's no stopping you. There's no stopping you. Like it's so easy to say, yet so hard to do sometimes because when you understand that the love that God has for you, like his unfailing love, his never-ending love, his love that just surpasses and transcends all understanding, then you will feel that peace. Because scripture says, like, you will keep him in perfect peace whose mind is stayed on you. So when you keep your mind on those things that are good, that are noble, that are true, that are worthy, man, life is just seen differently. And I'm just blessed that my lens has been shifted. My focus is better now. My sight is better. And that has given me more passion because I have no doubt that I'm doing what I've been called to do. And that's to preach the message of self-worth, of love.
Switching gears a little bit, one of the things that surprised me the most was the first video that I saw of you announcing being on a football television show. Ma'am, how in the world? Not to my knowledge, I don't think you took any TV communications or journalism or anything like that in college. How do you end up on a football television show?
Man, I'm glad you asked that question, BG. It's so funny, man. You're right. I have my undergrad in marketing, my master's in business administration, and I just know sports. Like never took any communication classes whatsoever. Got down here, man. And the fun thing about it is it was my wife who put me on. There's this radio station, an ESPN affiliate. It's 95.7, 1580 The Zone here in Columbus, Georgia. And there's this show called The Press Box. And it's a caller-based show, so you can actually call the show, speak your piece. They give you about 4 or 5 minutes generally, which is way more than any national syndicated show will give you. And you speak your piece. And my thought is, the first time I called them, man, I said, man, I appreciate you guys having me. I'm going to do what you do one day because I look, speaking in sports are my two passions. And it's funny that I'm doing both of them right now, like speaking in sports. And it was so funny because the first time I called them, man, I was rambling so long that they cut me off, hung up, and I called back. I said, yeah, I think you hung up on me. They said, no, I just needed to get to the next caller. I said, oh, okay. So I kind of understood how it went then. So, man, I just called consistently, maybe for like 2 months. And then Josh Payton, who's a sports director at WLTZ at this TV station down here, who's my co-host on the show, he would co-host that Press Box radio show sometimes. And I remember we had a conversation about Cam Newton. I'll never forget. And we were on opposite ends of the spectrum when it came to the conversation. Like we didn't agree whatsoever. Yeah, we were both spitting knowledge. We were both coming with hard information, relevant information, and tight information. So as I got off, a girl he was co-hosting this radio show with at Columbus State, the university here in Columbus, at their radio station, used to work with my wife in Young Life. My wife works for Young Life, which is an outreach ministry. And I was calling one day and I said, hey, is that young lady? He was speaking about his co-host. And I said, hey, is that Duke fan? Because I'm a big Duke basketball fan. I said, is she affiliated with Young Life? And he said, she is. I said, well, my wife is too. We're a Young Life family. They're good friends. So Josh reaches out to his lady friend, the co-host, to get in touch with my wife, to get in touch with me. So I get a call from him one night and he says, hey, what's going on, man? He said, look, he said, some people in this business have it or they don't. And he was like, every time you call, you just have got it. Like you don't just go on there talking like a fan. You really have information. You're knowledgeable and you speak about sports just beyond the surface. And he said, man, I'm co-hosting this radio show at Columbus State, that MPage Radio. I want you to come down every Friday. So that spurred to us doing a Friday radio show for 2 years, brother. Just from the conversations he heard me have on the radio that he wasn't even the host of. So now we're co-hosting the show. He comes and tells me before that, he says, I'm going to have a television show in the next year or so. He's like, they're prepping me for this show. And he was like, I just wanted to know if you'd want to do it with me. And then I just sat back and started laughing, man. I said, no doubt. So now we're coming up on our 3rd year. We've already eclipsed 300 shows of Football Nightly Down South. And the way I got into it was not because of my background, but it was simply because of the conversations I intentionally had when I was calling into the radio. So that's what I want to tell people. Like, I know you may be discouraged about not having experience, but your work ethic will trump your experience. Just give it time. Like, I knew nothing about formal communications on the radio or television, but I could talk sports with the best of them, not just because I play sports, just because I observe it. I don't just watch it. So me being in that opportunity and taking advantage of that opportunity before it happened put me in that position. And now we're just continuing to grow. So that's really how that happened, man. Like I said, it was just me speaking that into existence the same way I did the motivational speaker. I spoke those things verbally into the air, into the atmosphere, and then the law of attraction started bringing about those opportunities to me. You know, Jim Rohn said something one time that was so profound. I listened to him, and he said, success is not something that you pursue, it's something that you attract. And I'm like, wow, like, you know, you attract things. You understand what I'm saying? Like, when you do certain things, it attracts certain people, it attracts certain behaviors. So if you're going after your dreams, if you're grinding, if you're cherishing the process and not the prize, if you're really hitting life with 100% effort and a positive mindset every day, you're going to start attracting good things. And I'm telling you, man, the doors have been opened. Like, I was speaking at an event. It's the African American Male Initiative, or the Collegiate 100 Black Men of Columbus State University. They had a celebration for graduation for some high school students and some of the CSU affiliates of that organization. And I was a keynote speaker. And as I was speaking at that event, a tennis coach from Northside High School here in Columbus was calling me to come and speak and be the keynote speaker at their banquet later this month. And as I was speaking at the Shanghai Raider awareness rally, the violence awareness rally this past Monday in front of thousands of kids, man, and teachers and parents, like, another young lady who's a motivational speaker was reaching out to me saying that she's speaking at a middle school later in the month, and they wanted to know of any other speakers. She said, your name was the first name that came up. So what I'm telling you is that work is coming to me while I'm doing something else. Like, I'm not even thinking about that. But those opportunities are coming because subconsciously and consciously, I'm going after my goals with every fiber of my body, with every bit of my being. I'm going after those goals. And those are the ramifications that are coming. Those are the positive outcomes that are coming from that. So the show, no experience. The bank, no experience. Speaking verbally, other than just talking to people, no certified experience, but God provides you with all the experience and the intangibles that you need. So I'm telling you, when you step into your purpose and when you really find out what it is that you want to do in life and that you love doing, don't let it go. Don't let it go, because it will help you serve the world and bless other people. And then you will be taken care of as you move forward in life.
BG, it's funny how we're getting smarter because, you know, The Secret is one book that I'm familiar with that kind of speaks on the law of attraction. And then there are other books that also talk about the law of attraction with it, which is something that we've even mentioned on our show. And it's amazing how we as individuals with social media, just from our peers that we hang around, how similar topics and conversations kind of come to fruition. One thing I wanted to ask you, B.A.M, I actually just found out this. I found this out on Saturday when I reached out to you. But not only are you on that show, but you also do play-by-play for one of the Arena League teams in Columbus, Georgia. How did you get that role? And how and what
League?
Huh? Yeah, he's a play-by-play announcer. So how did you get that role?
I was talking to Peyton one day. We were talking after we did the show, and he said, hey, the Columbus Lions, because he had done the play-by-play for the Columbus Lions in the past. He contracted with him, and he said, hey, do you want to do the color commentary as I do the play-by-play for the upcoming season? I said, bet. So it's a continuous byproduct, man. It's a continuous evolution of what's been going down. And I just want to say this, like, I've been doing that Football Nightly Down South show for 3 years, and this is what I want other people to realize. When I talk about loving what you do, people may say, well, man, yeah, you doing all this stuff, but you getting all this bread and yada, yada, yada. I've done that show for over 300 episodes, almost 3 years, bro. And I am not lying to you. Just like I wasn't exaggerating about the number of jobs I've applied for, I have not received one penny from Football Nightly down south as of yet. Not one penny. And I keep going back for more, man, because I know it's going to pay off. Now, I get kicked a little something on the side for this because this is through the Columbus Lions. Like, this is a semi-pro arena football league. But my opportunity for that came through me being diligent, through me being faithful, through me being obedient to what God has called me to do and serving in this situation with the show. So, like I said, man, those opportunities have just been sprouting. And, that just came out of nowhere. And we just had a game Saturday night. So, we've done 2 games so far this year. We do every home game for the Columbus Lions here in Columbus, Georgia, man. These guys are defending champs. A couple of my homeboys, especially one of my good friends that I played ball with in high school, is the all-time interceptions leader in that league, Damian Daniels. Man, he has like over 108 picks. So it's good to just be in a situation to where you're being able to help the community. And I think, just from my coaching, with my son's teams and, my 2 oldest sons are both playing baseball right now. And the 4-year-old will be 5 in July, so he'll be playing football. So I've been coaching these boys for about 4 or 5 years, and since they were born, of course. So it's just really an opportunity, man, when I say serving. And I really want to tell you guys about this opportunity I have right now. There's a gentleman named Al Stewart. He's running for 1st District School Board here in Columbus, Georgia. And we go to the same church. And my wife and I were at a meeting, and his wife and he were at a meeting one day, and he just mentioned him going for school board, and he said, I hope I can win. And I've never really had a formal conversation with him. And I said, no, don't hope. I said, you got to say you can win and you can get it done. And he said, you're right. I never talked to this man like that before. Like, his wife keeps our kids at the daycare at our church when they were younger, but I never had a formal conversation with Mr. Stewart. And then after I finished that, I go outside and I ask him, I said, hey, sir, is there anything that you need? Let me know. He said, call me next week. So in the past 3 months, man, 2.5 months, we've been canvassing. When I literally tell you, we've been putting foot to the pavement. We've been walking around Columbus, Georgia, knocking on door to door to spread the message of this man. He's a 36-year veteran in education, man, retired as a co-principal. Like, so many people know him and respect him and love him. Like, I'm serving this man right here, not asking for a cent. Now, he'll give me some change every now and then to do something if I need to, but I'm not doing it for that. Like, I'm getting mass exercise. You understand what I'm saying? On a daily basis, I'm giving my gift to him. Scripture says that we're supposed to take the gifts that God has given us and bless other people. I'm getting to do that. But you know what I'm getting to do every time I knock on somebody's door, man? I'm getting to speak. I'm getting to open my mouth and talk about this man. And people have been telling me, like, you have a powerful voice. You have a powerful message. Like, I'm getting to share my message while sharing Mr. Stewart's message. It's like free publicity, guys. And I'm walking around the city doing this because I'm serving him. A quick funny story, man. I was talking to this lady through the door because I believe she was maybe just getting out of the shower, not ready to talk. And I was telling her about Mr. Stewart through the door. And she said, I apologize, sir, that I have to speak to you through the door, but I'm not ready to speak, open the door right now. I said, ma'am, don't worry about it. I'm a motivational speaker. There is no barrier that will keep me from speaking to you. And she started laughing and said, amen to that. And I just walked away laughing. I'm like, there's these situations in me serving other people are just providing me more opportunities to meet individuals, love individuals, help individuals, man. So it's just about service. So everything that I've been getting, BG and Jeremy, those opportunities have strictly be coming from service. Like, they come from service. They don't come from any other, state, any other situation. I promise you, it's just because I've been serving in one area, more opportunities are coming. So I'm just excited. I'm hitting every opportunity as they come, man.
Talk a little bit about your wife, man, because I know that with everything that you got going on, with this movement that you're building, you got to have a strong partner there supporting you. And you kind of talked about that leading up to where we are now in the show. So talk a little bit about how important that relationship has been to where you are now.
Man, when a man finds a wife, he finds the good thing, man. I never forget my wife, Erica. I met her at Shaw when I was teaching and coaching at Shaw. She was doing Young Life, her ministry there. And I remember meeting her. And then when I first met her, man, I was still wild. Like, I was still living in the world, and we joke about it. She says, well, yeah, you must not have thought I was cute the first time you met me. I said, it wasn't that, baby. I said, if I would have tried to talk to you then, you wouldn't have liked me. Like you wouldn't have, like you would have called me every name in the book. Like I wouldn't have been your type. I know I would. So it's funny, but like through the biggest situation, one of the biggest storms I've ever been in, man, I remember just my character being in question, my manhood being in question, just being humble though, because I was like, and I know that I'm a good guy, but I was just off the chain with pride at this point in time. And it was kind of like if somebody said hello to somebody else, I expected them to say hello doubly to me because I was just that good of a guy. Like it was just, I just swelled up with pride, didn't know where it came from. Again, those external factors, everybody having so much admiration for me externally built this facade of like this mythical figure of B.A.M, Coach B.A.M, da-da-da. But then when the Lord had to humble me and really break me down and put me back to the dust where I came from, I was looking up, man. I felt like immediately the days were cloudy. Like there were no sunny days in my life. And in the midst of that storm, this angel walked into my classroom. I just simply remember asking her, hey, are you dating anybody? And I got her number. We were going to the same church. We went through new members class together. So that evolution of our relationship, because she had a relationship with Christ and because I was building one. Like I remember giving my life to Christ in 06, man, and not even living the life I was supposed to even after that. Because I said, I still see people doing dirt. But when that situation came, it really humbled me and really broke me down and really allowed people to remove themselves from my life. Because I'm going to tell you something, bro. When I tell you that 90% of the people that I thought that I loved and respected as friends or whatever walked away from me, it was like turn their backs on me. Like that was probably one of the most hurtful times of my life. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like nobody was asking me what was going down. They were just turning their backs on me like, boom, like this is what it is now. But the great thing about it is that as they turned their backs, they created more opportunities for God to come in and bring me my wife. And she was there every step of the way through everything. And we just, to this day, man, she is, and again, when I say that she's my better half and my rock, like we definitely have times when we don't agree on things, but there's nobody in this world that I would rather disagree with more than her. And she was in the audience at Shaw this past weekend, and she was just so excited. And we had our 5-month-old with us because the other 3 were in school or daycare. And it's a great thing to have a woman of God right there with you, continuing to encourage you, man. Because I'll tell you, an encourager, like she kept me encouraged every day through storms that I was going through, like every single day before we were even dating. She kept spinning the words of truth to me. She kept giving me that opportunity to be loved and to love. So like it's an amazing feeling to be living in my purpose, but it's also an amazing feeling to be a husband and a father raising the family that I have, man. I'm truly blessed and I'm truly excited about what's going down. And it's like no matter what the world tries to dish me or deal to me, when I come home and I hear that daddy and I hear that hey baby and I get those kisses and those hugs, it's like everything just goes away, man. It's just a great feeling. So she is very inspirational in what I do, and I continue to keep her inspired, continue to keep her, encouraged by things. Because you guys know, when it comes to, and not all women, but like my wife, she's like, okay, baby, hey, like we got this bill, we got that bill, and I just continue to, hey, baby, don't worry about it. Like this is my purpose. Like everything's gonna be taken care of. Like I reminded her earlier today, I was going through, I was just selling stuff like from the Total Money Makeover. I remember Dave Ramsey saying, if you got stuff in the house you don't need, sell it. I had put over $100-some in the savings account today just from selling stuff. And she said, okay, well, do we need to put that money in the checking account for whatever you didn't get earlier on? I said, don't worry about it. This check that I got from Columbus State is coming. That's going in the savings. In the checking account. She's like, oh, okay. So she's kind of like that. Hey, let's not pull back the reins, not try to keep me quarantined or anything like that. But hey, okay. So are we good here? Because I'm 100 miles an hour. Y'all know me. Like I'm 100 miles an hour gone. And she's always the one to kind of try to fall back and make sure that we're hitting every step. We're not skipping steps while we're accelerating in the life. So it's on point, man. She's amazing. She's everything I could ask for. And it's just funny because a lot of the things that I yearn for in life, I have with her. And a lot of things that, get to me under my skin, she provides as well. So I know she's kind of like that total package, whether we agree, whether we disagree, whether we argue, what have you, which is going to happen because we're married and that's life. Like I said, there's nobody else I would rather argue with. So she's on point, man, and it's really, really great to have her along with me on this ride, man. We're just going to keep rolling.
Last question for me, bro. You talked about those people that turned their back on you. And I'm sure that some of those people might have been people that, knew you as you were trying to figure everything out and might have seen, some of your bumps and bruises. What would you say to those people right now this day?
Well, I would just say, I love you. And again, I talked about some of those things that that hurt me back in the day, because to me, friendships are vital. And what I mean by friendships, I don't mean like you just knowing somebody, but like relationships are important, but genuine relationships are life changing. And when you have relationships with people, and people tend to look at certain situations and circumstances a certain way without knowing the circumstance, about knowing the situation, and then they kind of walk away, and you're like, at that time you feel hurt, you feel abandoned, you feel betrayed. But again, you got to understand that that's a decision they made, and you can't be mad at them forever because their life is moving on. So there's still no love lost. And I would just tell them, look, at that point of my life, things were just going down, and I was in a transition. Like you said it perfectly. Like sometimes you go through this transition in life, you go through this life altering event, and you don't even know that you're going through it until you wake up one morning and everything is visually different. Like not just metaphorically, but sometimes in a literal sense. Like things are just different, and you're like, man, what's going on? Like I don't feel this way anymore. Like I don't want to run the way I did before. I don't want to handle things the way I did before. And people sometimes don't understand that, and that will make them uncomfortable or make them mad. Like Scripture says, consider it not strange, considering the fire trial, which is to try you. And some people will look at you crazy when you don't run in the lewdness and in the things that you used to do back in the day. So you just got to kind of eat that, man. You got to kind of accept it. In the same way Joseph, greeted his brothers, man, when they sold him to Pharaoh. They sold him to Egypt because they were jealous of him being young. And I'm definitely not saying this is from a point of jealousy. I'm just referencing this in Joseph's reaction. He saw his brothers, and while they thought he was going to be a man who was going to just verbally abuse them, he was high. Now he went from the pit to the palace. He was Pharaoh's right-hand man, wasn't even an Egyptian. Pharaoh gave him all the love in the world, and he was like, man, I forgive you guys. He was like Genesis 50:20. Even though you meant it for my evil, God meant it for my good. So that's what I would tell everybody. I mean, you may have thought the situation was what it was, but whatever happened, it was meant for God's glory. Like God meant it for that. So in that moment and in those conversations, that always brings me back to saying thank you rather than why me. It always brings me back to being grateful rather than hurtful for those things that I went through. Because sometimes, man, like you said, as people walked away, it gave me room for God, because you guys know me. Like there was never a situation or never a set or never a party or never an event where I was not present. Like I literally was everywhere. I just enjoyed being around people. I enjoyed being everywhere. But as I was everywhere, I was never having time for my Father to really come and be inside of me and really build a relationship with him. But as those situations happened, and as people started to part away from me, situations started to come where I could be more intimate with God, more intimate with him, more intimate with the Holy Spirit, more intimate with a relationship with Jesus Christ, which was so huge in my life. So I can only say thank you. And again, it was all ordained before the beginning of me. So I'm not going to have any bad feelings. I'm not going to have any ill will. And I'm going to continue and try to live as resolute as possible and forgive, even though, like I said, there's still things that I have inside of me that are still tugging at me like, no, you shouldn't forgive that. That wasn't right what they did to you. And I was like, you can't worry about that. That's the internal struggle. But it's all love, and it's just really a blessing to be in the situation I am, even with the hard times that you go through.
Bam, what's next? What's next for you?
And changing the world, brother. I'm serious. Look. You know that B.A.M. Like my nickname is B.A.M. Okay, and it's so funny that I was given a nickname when I was 12 years old because I kept hitting line drives at baseball practice, and my coach would just keep yelling B.A.M. 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 Like that's your name, B.A.M. B.A.M. But that name stuck. Like if somebody asked you, do you know Jonathan Rivers, and they say who, and they say B.A.M. They say, oh yeah. Like that was the story of my life. Like that's why I talked about that persona, that mythical creature or what have you. But man, Believe and Motivate is the name of our organization. When I say our, my production manager, George Williams, man, he is a guru when it comes to video, pictures. Whatever video you guys see cut, whatever pictures you see, George and his wife are on it. That's the other half of Team B.A.M. You know what I mean? So it's the Believe and Motivate. It's a name that I was given when I was younger for this time. Like I didn't have to go out looking for a name. I didn't even have to go out looking for a production manager, man. We've known each other since the 7th grade, reconnected after like 10 plus years. And now we're back in the fold. So what's next is continuing to change the world through speaking and encouraging, continue to pour life into people. Like you stated earlier, man, we've got midweek motivation. It's every Wednesday, 6 a.m. We posting a midweek motivation. Today we just posted the first special edition of Midweek Motivation. It was a compilation of the messages that we've been given so far, and some life principles, and then some other videos that were cut that correspond to the message that was being given, and really have been getting a lot of great responses, man. Really have been. So that's what's next. Like I said, we just finished the Shaw Rally, working on Columbus Tech is a college here in town. Just spoke to one of the directors there, working on trying to be the keynote speaker there. We got the tennis banquet at Shaw High School coming up later this month. We got the boys basketball banquet high school for Shaw High School coming up. So things are just moving in a very, very accelerated way and in a positive way. And like I said, man, I was born for this. I was born for it. So Jeremy, DC, BG, Alabama, whoever's in Cali, whoever's in Texas, whoever's anywhere in the United States and worldwide, we are spreading this message, and it will be coming soon to wherever you are. Be ready for it, because we're not slowing down anytime soon. We've been blessed with a purpose that we're going to walk it till the day we die.
BG.
Man, what, man?
I was going to ask you, man, what you think, man? We got the right guy on, especially during a time where all this hate is being discussed, and we got the right guy on, BG.
Full of positivity. I'm gonna tell you like this: I be watching the midweek motivationals, and bam, damn, they have me about to run through the damn wall, man. I be ready. I mean, it's flowing with positivity, and it's just, I'm proud of you, man. I mean,
I appreciate that,
like
bro.
I say, we've had a bond for many years now, and I've kind of watched you progress. We come from the same place. But man, to just see you in that medium, man, speaking with that passion, it do my heart good, man, to see it. And I just pray that you continue blessings with everything, the team B.A.M, with your movement and everything that you do, man, because I do feel like you've got a message, and I feel like you are the person that can get a message that is far reaching, because you are able to touch so many different aspects of life. So, just peace and blessings on everything that y'all got going on, man. And give me one of them shirts too, though.
Oh, no doubt, man. Those things, man. And that was one of the best parts about the rally, man. Like when we said we were giving them out for people to come get, like the stage was flooded, and those young men and women were so inspiring to me. It was very, very life-changing event, man. So again, Jeremy and BG, man, I love you guys, and I appreciate this opportunity. And I just want to remind everybody that YouTube channel. Check out all the videos. We're about to drop the CSU video, the Columbus State University African American Male Initiative keynote speaking event will be coming soon. Also, the Raider Rally will be coming to my YouTube channel. It's Jonathan Rivers. Subscribe to it. My Facebook page is Jonathan Rivers Motivational Speaker. It has all the videos up to date, quotes that I have, just information for you to learn. You can follow me on Twitter at JBAMRivers, on Instagram at JBAMRivers, and the website that has everything you need to book a speaker who is just coming with that passion. Just look me up. It's www.jonathanbamrivers.com. Any opportunity is a great opportunity, and we're going to take advantage of it.
You on Instagram too, right?
Yep, at JBAMRivers. Yes, sir.
Okay. Make certain, BG, that was a great segue.
Yeah.
For the record.
Uh-oh.
Make certain, bam, you go out. As a matter of fact, I'm going to do it while we on the phone. BG, while we were on the interview, I uploaded a picture for proof, BG.
I saw it. I already got my alert. I've seen it already.
You saw the picture?
Yes, I did.
Okay. I'm finna add BAM right now. BAM, repeat your Instagram for the listeners, not for type, but for the listeners.
It is at JBAMRivers, JBAMRIVERS. Same thing on Twitter, at JBAMRivers.
Okay, I need you to. We just added you and followed you. I need you to log on to Twitter right now, BAM.
Instagram.
I mean the Instagram right now while we got the listeners on the air. And BG, while he's logging on, let the people know. Summarize this interview, BG, and let the people know how we can.
Man, this has been one of the most exciting interviews that we've done in a while, and I say that because this is family coming on, spreading some good news and positivity. This is Jonathan B.A.M. Rivers, the head man when it comes down to Team B.A.M. Believe and Motivate. He said, follow him. mainly those midweek motivations. And so, you know, if you follow us on our Facebook page, we share those videos so you can check them out. They're great videos, just giving words of inspiration and encouragement. No matter where you are in life, no matter what you're doing, there is something for you to help you through that day-to-day walk. As far as getting in contact with the Free Lunch Podcast, of course, we got that information. You can check for us, www.freelunchpodcast.com. Also, we are on Instagram, Free Lunch Podcast. If you go now, you can see the picture that Tight is boasting so heavily about.
I'm not
Also,
boasting. I'm not boasting. I'm just making a point. I'm not boasting. I'm just making a point, BG.
Also on Twitter, Free Lunch Pod C, and we are on YouTube, Free Lunch TV. Check for us. Let us know what you think. We do this every Thursday. Available on iTunes and SoundCloud. Just search New South Movement Network. We are a part of that podcast family. With us, the Free Lunch Podcast, the Retroscope Podcast, the D1 Sports Talk Podcast, and the Girl Talk Podcast. So holler at us. iTunes and SoundCloud, New South Movement Network.
While he accesses the post that was posted on Instagram, BG.
What's up, bro?
This was a good show.
Yeah. And, you know, I think this is what, when we set out, we had an idea for a New South movement. And a lot of that was just bringing on people in our peer group, people from our neighborhood, people that we've come up with that are doing positive things. We want to put them and their talents on display. And I think we achieved that today. Because like I say, B.A.M has taken this thing by storm. And I hope people really realize what's happening. This is a 30-year-old young man. I guess he saw the picture.
Man, what you just look at?
I see you, bro. What number are you now?
Hashtag 54.
I see you, Tight.
Okay. I just wanted to, for the record, before we got out there, because I was not properly addressed throughout this entire throughout parts of this episode. So I wanted to make certain we address those. And before B.A.M has anything else to say, we out of here. This has been the D1 Sports Talk, Free Lunch Pod. This has been a Free Lunch Podcast. Got the main man got the main man BG with me. And we got B.A.M, Jonathan B.A.M Rivers. Y'all follow the motivational speaker, and we are out of here. Free Lunch Podcast.